All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a former president and his entire inner circle on trial, accused of trying to tear down a democracy. This is huge, a really defining moment for Brazil. So we're going to break down what went down on the very first and very explosive day of this historic trial. So the big question is, what actually happened in that courtroom on day one? Well, let me tell you, it was packed. We're talking powerful statements, what the prosecution calls a detailed blueprint for a coup, and yeah, some pretty intense courtroom drama. First up, let's just take a look at the lineup here, because this is not just about the former president, Jair Bolsonaro. No, we're talking about his top brass. You've got generals, ministers, his spy chief, his closest aide, the whole crew. And the charges, they are as serious as it gets. Attempted coup, trying to abolish the democratic state, and running an armed criminal organization. So the trial kicks off, and right away, the court sets this incredibly powerful tone. It was like a warning shot fired right from the bench. The guy in charge, the lead judge, Justice Alexandre de Moraes, he's the first one to speak. And look, he wasn't just there to go over the legal formalities. Oh no, he was there to make a statement, to really set the tone for this whole thing, and he even mentioned dealing with, and I quote, internal and external pressures on the court. And you really have to pay attention to the words he chose here. He says that the pacification of the country, well, that doesn't mean just letting things slide. He draws this incredibly sharp line against what he calls the cowardice of appeasement. Wow. The message couldn't have been clearer. Impunity is not on the table. Okay, so once the judge laid down the law, it was the prosecution's turn. And they came out swinging, laying out what they call a complete blueprint for a coup. They're arguing this was a plot that unfolded in multiple acts. Their whole case really hangs on this legal theory they're calling concatenated acts. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. They're saying none of this stuff happened in a vacuum. These weren't just random, isolated incidents. They were all links in a chain, Each action was a deliberate step designed to build on the last one, all leading to one goal: breaking democracy. So then the prosecutor literally walked the court through this alleged step-by-step plan. Step 1, discredit the whole system. Go after the electronic voting machines, sow as much doubt as you possibly can. Step 2, weaponize the state itself. Use agencies like the Highway Police and the National Intelligence Agency for your own political ends. Step 3, make it official. They allegedly discussed and even edited a coup memo right in the presidential palace. Step 4, get the military on your side. Try to convince the top commanders to back the plan. And the final step, Step 5, let chaos reign. Encourage the January 8th riots as the final push to make it all happen. And here's where the prosecution really hammered their point home. The prosecutor was adamant that his case is not built on, quote, fragile suppositions. He's saying, look, our evidence comes directly from the defendants themselves. We're talking their own documents, their own communications. In this quote, man, this really gets to the absolute core of their argument. The prosecutor is basically saying, you don't need a signed order on a piece of paper to prove a crime was happening. He argues that the second a president and a defense minister call in the military high command to show them a document that formalizes a coup, the crime is already underway. It's already in motion. All right, so after the prosecution lays all that out, it's the defense's turn to punch back, and the first 4 legal teams got up to start poking holes in the case. So here's a quick rundown of their arguments. For Mauro Cid, the aide who made a plea deal, his lawyers just reinforced that his testimony is legit and he wasn't forced into it. For the former spy chief, Ramajang, his lawyer said, hey, he wasn't creating disinformation, he was just compiling thoughts for the president. For Admiral Garnier, his defense went on the attack, questioning the validity of Cid's plea deal and saying there's no specific proof against him. And then you have Anderson Torres, the guy who had a draft of the coup memo at his house. His defense? They called the document apocryphal, basically of doubtful authorship, and said his trip to the US right when the riots happened was just a pre-planned family vacation. But day one wasn't just dry legal arguments, not at all. We also got a moment of pure, unscripted courtroom drama. And it all came down to a battle over a couple of very specific words. So this whole thing hinged on the difference between auditable vote and printed vote. It's crucial to get this right. Brazil's system is auditable, that's a fact. It has digital logs, all sorts of verification. Printed vote, on the other hand, was the specific proposal to add a paper receipt to every single vote. That was the big talking point used to attack the system. They are two totally different things. And here's where things got really tense. While one of the defense lawyers is talking, Justice Carmen Lucia just interrupts him. She cuts right in and essentially says that mixing up these two terms, it wasn't an accident. She called it a deliberate tactic, and I'm quoting here, to confuse Brazilians. Whoa. I mean, that's a justice on the Supreme Court basically calling out the entire narrative against the voting machines right there in open court. A really striking moment. So, after all that, a day full of powerful statements, super detailed accusations, and some sharp pushback, the stage is officially set for what happens next. So if you take one thing away from day one, it's this. The battle lines are clearly drawn. You have the prosecution on one side, armed with what they claim are the defendant's own documents and plans, and on the other side, you have the defense, chipping away at everything they can, questioning the intent, the validity of the evidence, especially that key plea deal for Moraes. And make no mistake, this is far from over. We've still got 4 more key defendants who haven't even made their case yet. We're talking more generals, more ministers, and of course, the man at the center of this whole thing. So that leaves us with the big hanging question, right? We've seen the prosecution's roadmap of the alleged coup, we've heard the first counterattacks from the defense, but Jair Bolsonaro's own defense team, they haven't said a word yet. The most anticipated part of this trial is still to come. So what on earth is day 2 going to reveal?